Hey everyone! Welcome back! I am back today with more of my Steel Ball Run manga review, you guys. Chapters 56 through 60 today. I cannot believe that we are like this far in the series. Like, I know we still have a little while left. Like, after today we have 35 chapters, but like, it doesn't feel like it's been that long, so it's also like kind of crazy to me that like we're here already. And yeah, you'll see when we get into the chapters that like there's really not that much longer left in the race. So I'm like, wow, it just kind of like drove it home to me, like, oh dang. Like, I mean, technically, I guess if I'm doing 5 chapters a week, we have 7 weeks left after today. So, I mean, that's still like a chunk of time, but at the same time, like, does it not feel like we like just, I don't know. I guess I'm just having too much fun with it. And it feels like it's going by so fast. And I'm like, it's how I always feel with JoJo's, because I always feel like I cannot wait to be done so I can like engross myself in everything about this part. The memes, the fan art, the fan fiction, everything. Like just, but at the same time, then I like always have this drop off at the end where I'm like, now I'm done with that part. Like, I'll never be able to go through it the first time ever again. I have a lot of feelings when it comes to JoJo's. I think you know this. Alright guys, before I get into everything, I do just want to say if you're joining me early today, you know just what that means. It means you are one of my awesome patrons. Thank you so very much. And as always, I am sending up those big old hugs right through that screen. And if not, still, thank you for joining me today. I'm glad you're here. I do hope you'll consider supporting me that way. The link to my Patreon is going to be in that description down below. And if you're joining me on those YouTubes, I really hope you'll hit like and also subscribe for me. That does help me and my channel a whole lot. So thank you in advance for that. Yeah, guys, so basically last time, you know, I think, you know, pretty much you guys in the comments were, reflecting a lot of what I would have expected the reactions to the chapters to be. A lot of good stuff, a lot of good, like, positive, a lot of, like, you know, not liking Magenta Magenta. I get it. He's definitely one of the ones that's really rubbed me the wrong way the most. Like, we've had some weird side villains, and we've had some side villains that, like, I mean, Ringo and Sandman and everything, like, I legit would watch them like get redemption arcs and become bros, like if they had made it, because they were just such good characters, great designs, great backstories, like, you know. And now we just get one that I'm really just kind of like, you know, like I'm just like, no, I just want to see him just get caught in a shredder or something, you know what I mean? Like and I am told that he is going to have a most terrible and satisfying end. So we do, I guess, have that to look forward to. I mean, most of them are getting taken out. Most of the side villains here have gotten, like, it's weird because in Stardust Crusaders and everything, like, I could have sworn they were all getting killed. And somebody actually, like, wrote and was like, no, they're just kind of, like, retired. Like, a lot of them are, like, still alive. And actually that's something that's dealt with, before getting so off the beaten path here, but there is a really good manga. It's not exactly canon, but it's like a side story thing, and a lot of you have heard of it already, Crazy Demonic Heartbreak, which takes place, I think, right before part 4. And so it involves characters from Stardust Crusaders, and yeah, like, apparently I think a lot of them, or most of them, lived. And so, like, it's weird to me, and I mean, it's not weird, because, like, I kind of thought that's what was going on the whole time in part 3, but, like, it's really interesting how here we're just, like, we are not mincing words about this. We're just straight up, like, taking people out and killing people, like, you know, call it the times, call it just, you know, new universe, new rules, whatever you want to call it. I mean, to be fair, like, none of these people would, like, if that's what we had to do to survive, you know what I mean? If it's like self-defense, like, they're not going and seeking out anyone to kill, you know? It's just people who came at them. So anyway, how did I get off into this giant rant? What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, just Magenta Magenta sucks. And Wekapipo is cool and is helping us, and we had a lot. Okay, guys, so last time, so I'm looking through my notes, and last time, I just want to let you know, we had an awful lot of really good things happen last time. Like, we have a lot of, like, I got very teary-eyed. I wasn't sure how it was going to be received, because it just, like, that touched me so much, and you guys were very nice about it. Thank you for putting up with my, there's just something about it when it comes to, like, miracles and stuff. I can't handle it. Like, it's too much for me. And it was really beautifully done. So yeah, so I just want to warn you right now. Last time we had a lot of really great things happening. You know, we've had this kind of like push and pull. Like we had like, we lost everything during Sugar Mountain. And now we like had all these miracles happen. And you know what, guys? It's the ebb and the flow. It's the ebb and the flow, because we're going to go through some stuff in this one. So, but we're good. There's going to be some good things too. So just buckle up. All right, I think that's all I want to say. So let's just go ahead and jump right into chapter 56. Okay, it's not funny, but I'm laughing because of something else. We open with Steve and Steele finding Lucy's dead body and freaking out over that. And obviously that's not funny at all. But the reason I'm laughing is because like the last we saw of like Lucy and when she was with Hot Pants and everything, Hot Pants was like, don't worry, I'm going to talk to your husband. I'll take care of it. Blah, blah, blah. And I know Hot Pants has been going like, we're going to get some stuff with Hot Pants as well. I will say maybe she didn't get to do that. Maybe she didn't get to do that yet. Or maybe this was just the only way to take care of it. But like poor Lucy thinking like her husband's gonna kind of be in on this and like at least not be worried about her and like, you know, I mean, I'll be worried about her still, but no, he just straight up thinks his wife is dead. Just straight up thinks she's dead. So we see him kind of like, he's looking at the body and he kind of starts like sweating it out. You can tell like the wheels are kind of turning a little bit, and he's like, he starts to figure out that it looks like Lucy, but like that's not Lucy. And of course we know it's not really Lucy. We know that they got switched and she's now the first lady, and she's, you know, and which actually I have to say, as much as I would have loved to have seen Steven Steele be in on this, because like he's just suffering a lot now needlessly, would he be able to sell it? Like, I hate to even say that. I hate to make this like a Polnareff situation where like we had to lie and tell Polnareff that Angel was... Does anyone remember that? That really sucked. You know what I mean though? Like for her protection, would he be able to sell that? I don't think that's why he wasn't told. I think it's gonna have to do more with stuff that I'm gonna get into here with Hot Pants. But also like... the only real way to protect Lucy at this point is to do that and to switch them out and be like, Lucy's gone. Because otherwise, if you say, oh, Lucy went to boarding school and like, it's, we're looking for a traitor, we're looking, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, now they think it's Hot Pants, though, because that's what Lucy Scarlet told them. But you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's the only way to protect her, as cruel as it is. So anyway, he's figuring out that's not Lucy. So Johnny and Gyro are camped out. We cut to them, see what they're doing. And Johnny's going through this catalog and ordering things. And like, it's so cute because he's like talking about how like the modern conveniences of having this catalog and you order things and they just have them available for you in the next town. And I'm like, oh, sweetie pie, I wish you were gonna be able to see like online shopping. Cause like, I mean, I remember ordering stuff out of a catalog. Like, I remember, like, Avon in the 90s. And, like, I remember, like, QVC and stuff like that. And I remember thinking, like, this is it. This is the peak of human evolution. We can order things from catalogs and over the phone. So, like, I get it. But it's just kind of cute to me. I don't know. I figured I'd mention it because Johnny's cute. So Gyro's looking through it and he check marks to get a new teddy bear, and we see his is like all raggedy and kind of like not looking so good. So I don't, at first like he checked a girl one and I'm like, is he getting his teddy bear a little girlfriend? But then I think maybe based on things coming later, he's maybe replacing poor Mr. Tattered Teddy, or maybe he was just getting his teddy a friend. I don't know, but you'll see later. But anyway, I just anyone else find Gyro's just like obsession with teddy bears just unbelievably attractive and sweet and charming. Gyro is like the, I don't even know what to make of Gyro, because like he can be so awful, but he can be so wonderful. You know, like he can be both. He can be both. So he's getting a new teddy in the next town, I guess. So in the distance, they see Hot Pants. They decide to follow her because, you know, last we saw, she had the corpse parts and everything, and they're like, we're gonna get them back. So they follow her to this, yeah, that was where I'm trying to think of like the last time because the last time we saw her was with Lucy. But the last time they saw her, yeah, okay. I mean, it's getting to be like we have so much of the story now that like it is getting to like be tough to keep it straight because we've done so much at this point, but okay. So anyway, they're like, we're gonna get the corpse parts back. They follow her to this big building, and then they think they lost her. They bust into the building, which is all nasty and like decrepit, full of trash, and they see a nun. Now, as you know, last time I had my speculations about the absolutely out of nowhere dialogue that Hot Pants dropped in the middle of a conversation with Lucy, being like, you know, there's a lot of people that do some stuff to get their hands on these corpse parts. Say, you know, for instance, a nun. And I'm like, you're a nun, aren't you? Like, why would you say that unless you were a nun? And when you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. So you can clearly see in this panel that like it's Hot Pants. The nun is Hot Pants. The only one, and this has become kind of a running joke, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but it's become a running joke that like Gyro has no idea, and they're actually going to call it out here, that like Gyro has no idea that Hot Pants is a woman. He's still like totally in the dark about it, and I don't know, he just does. So I don't know if he ever finds out, to be honest. I mean, I say keep the joke going, like why not? But so Gyro has no clue, and he's like, he's like, oh sister, I'm so sorry to bother you. Like, did you happen to see a man come through? And I'm just like, Gyro. Sometimes he's just such a little cutie pie, you know what I mean? Ordering his teddy bears and being all like silly and ignorant and stuff. And meanwhile, by the way, while Gyro's like, oh sister, do you think you could help us find this man? Johnny's looking, he gives Hot Pants this look like, girl, are you serious right now? And she's like, I'm sorry, this is just some garbage dump, I can't help you. So Gyro tells Johnny to stay with the nun while he goes and looks around, and Johnny really starts to confront this nun who we know is Hot Pants, but this like confirms it. Like, he's like, come on, I know it's you. I thought of something this morning while making my dog's breakfast. Completely popped into my head. Do you remember when Hot Pants and Norsuke were at the watering station? Like back when Diego was signing up with Valentine and everything, like this is a while ago. Do you remember how he was like, someone like you wouldn't want to do that, right? Because he was like trying to get her to touch his belly button and stuff. Or what was it? Yeah, he had like an extra belly button or something. I don't know. It was he was being really creepy, but he's no Josuke. I think we can all agree. However, do you remember that when he was like, someone of your, you know, nature, whatever, would never want to do that? And I thought he knew she was a woman. Did he know she was a nun? How would he know that? And should we be worried? Because I would be heartbroken if I thought like someone in the family of what would have been Josuke's family in the other universe. I mean, obviously we're not gonna follow that exact straight line now. I'll be heartbroken if like he turned. I thought that at first, and it turned out to be Sandman. But anyway, so Johnny goes in to confront Hot Pants. He explains that like Gyro does not get it at all, but like I know exactly who you are, and he tells her basically cut the crap. And why are you collecting the corpse parts? And she's kind of like freaking out. She's like, do you have the legs? Because if you do, don't let go of them. And Johnny, okay. things start to get a little bit weird at this point. I don't know if maybe it's just me, but it looked a little weird to me. And I don't know if it was intentionally weird or if it was just not. So basically, Johnny grabs her and there's like these close-ups of their lips, like getting closer and closer. Johnny's getting like real close to her and he's like, are you a nun? Do you just spend most of your time as like a regular woman? And he's, I don't know, it just, we're just like getting a little, and like I never got those vibes from them before. And obviously if she's a nun, then like she's not dating. But like, for a second, the tension in the air got a little bit thick. You know what I mean? So she starts crying and she says, look, if you call for Gyro right now, he's gonna die. She says she lost her corpse parts and she starts talking about how she had to like throw them away and she had to give up everything. And at first I'm like, oh my God, like something happened to her like with Sugar Mountain and she had to like lose the corpse parts, you know? And she... Okay, the next part gets even weirder because we see like a crying baby start to like burst out of her. Yeah. And she starts saying like, it's because I threw it away. You can't throw anything away. And the baby is bursting out of her and like screaming, sister. Now, I will tell you what I was thinking at this point. I'm like, oh my God, she had a baby she had to give up. And the baby was screaming, sister, but like, nuns are also referred to as sister. So at first, it went right over my head, you guys. What was really going on? But anyway, she's talking about like, hey, you can't throw these things away. It's because I threw everything away. And she's freaking out and a child is bursting out of her. So, and that's when the child fully bursts out of her, like in the movie Alien, just starts to like burst out of her. And now she and the child are like crystallized, like in this trap, this clear plasticky trap. And she's saying like, even joining the church didn't help me. I can't take it anymore. I sacrificed him. And she tells Johnny if he has to sacrifice something, he needs to purify it with water. So clearly this is like the work of an enemy stand, but we just don't know any details yet. So Johnny screams for Gyro and Gyro finds his teddy bear amongst the trash. So I think he threw it away and he like found it again here. And there's like a chicken carcass with a knife through it that Johnny finds. And a stand-like creature starts to emerge and says to Gyro that humans must sacrifice in order to progress. And the stand has a bunch of corpse parts like right next to it, like almost the whole entire body. I should also point out at this point that stands are kind of starting to look robotic again. When we first started this part, like all of the stands looked very like nature inspired. We weren't seeing a lot of like, you know, like Worldo and Crazy Diamond, and a bunch of others have this very like almost kind of like robot kind of look, or like even like, I mean, like part 5, basically like every stand looked like that. Like they had a very like a humanoid, but kind of like if you mixed it with a Kamen Rider, you know, like it looked very, I think you know what I mean. Robotic is really the only way I can think of to describe it. And this one was where I started to realize it last time with 20th Century Boy, that like, oh, this is kind of starting to look a little bit more like the stands of the other universe again. And this one, I thought looked like it had Silver Chariot's head, if Silver Chariot's head had like a heating vent grate on it. Like, yeah. So that's when the knife from the carcass, the chicken carcass, attacks Johnny, and the teddy bear attacks Gyro. Fin to chapter 56. We got a lot in this one while like not getting anything at all, because we get like a bunch of stuff set up basically for this whole arc that we're about to do, which I think is called Civil War, and you'll see why. Steven Steele finding out about Lucy, but kind of like having his doubts. We have Hot Pants and like some kind of situation which we know now to be caused by an enemy stand. And at this point in time, I couldn't have told you like what the stand was, but in the next one, it starts to become clearer and clearer kind of like what it's working based off of. I don't have a ton to add to this one because, again, it was just kind of setting things up. I mean, obviously, we're getting into some stuff with hot pants. What is this whole thing with, like, I threw it away and a child bursting out of her? And we have confirmation she's a nun. And we had that weird scene with her and Johnny. So, yeah. So, we have a lot going on. And, like, at this point, I think we can at least admit that, like, there's something going on with, like, things that you thought you threw away or sacrificed. But yeah, I don't have a super lot to add to this one because we are going to have, like, as with all of the stand fights here, the real crux of the story, the real lesson to be taken away, or the real, like, revelations of backstories comes in, like, further chapters. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this one. I'm just going to say, like, cool to have confirmation about the nun thing. We're starting on a stand battle that looks to be a very clever stand battle, and spoiler alert, it is. And yeah, I think you can already tell we're gonna get some stuff about hot pants up in this one. And if you guessed that, another spoiler alert, you would be right. So without spending too much time on that one, because again, we do have a lot to get into in the next ones, let's just go ahead with chapter 57. We have narration going of, like, the next 2 running goals. Out of the three left to the finish line. Yeah, there's only 3 left to the finish line. And we have a little narration about, like, the next 2. Apparently they're short, so it's a good time for, like, last minute comebacks. Keep that in mind for later. Gyro is ranked first fan favorite, and Johnny is second. So they're, like, leading right now with the fan favorites. And this reminded me of when Johnny was kind of, like, teasing Gyro because he was the bigger fan favorite, and now Gyro is the biggest fan favorite. So Valentine can tell that Johnny and Gyro got all the remaining parts except the head because of, like, they're, you know, remember we're, like, following them with the hot air balloons and stuff. They're, like, tracking them. He could tell because they went off course a little that is where they went to. Meanwhile, the teddy bear is attacking Gyro. It bites his arm and then starts merging with his arm. And the stand asks him if he's going to retrieve what he left behind. So yeah, we're dealing with, like, stuff that you had to let go of or get rid of, or even stuff that you physically threw away in the trash. Gyro throws a steel ball at the stand and breaks it apart. But what really happened is that the stand breaks apart, not the ball, I should clarify. But what really happened is the stand broke itself into parts in an effort to evade his attack. Then he sees on the ground there are a bunch of steel balls and a ton of garbage. So yeah, we are dealing with a trash stand. This is where I was like, oh my god, it's a trash stand. So Johnny realized that the knife and the chicken carcass are ones that they threw away back at their camp. To anyone who, like, remembered that they threw away chicken and stuff, like, kudos to you, because I didn't remember it till he said it. I mean, I imagine they throw a lot of stuff away at camp, you know, like, you're done with your food and you're out of there. So Hot Pants warns him that he has to get out of there. And Johnny promises Hot Pants he's gonna help her, but she's like, look, you can't help anyone or you'll have to sacrifice something. Meanwhile, the kid that emerged from her is calling out for her. Roll the flashback. Roll the flashback. You knew we were gonna, and guys, I'm just gonna warn you right now, it's another tragic one. It's another tragic one. So we get a flashback to Hot Pants when she was little. Her and this little boy are being attacked by a bear. That's, like, where we start off. So apparently she was out in the woods with her brother when they were attacked, and she pushed her brother and left him for the bear while she got away. Dark stuff, you guys. Dark stuff. I told you it was going to be tragic. So no one ever knew except for her, but she couldn't go on living with her parents after that, even though she was a little girl. So she joined the convent and figured if she collected all of his corpse parts, quote from the story, maybe he'd forgive her. So, like, we know, but obviously they're, like, letting little snippets of this go whenever they can for the sake of, like, Johnny and Gyro figuring out. So she tells Johnny, look, there's still a chance for you. You have to purify that knife with pure water. And she starts to, like, disappear and melt, merge, whatever. Like, she starts to, like, go away. And Johnny screams. So Johnny sees one of their horses and realizes his canteen is attached to it. And he's like, I can purify it with that water. That's when he sees Danny running around on the floor. And I'm just like, what? But here's the thing. I actually got thinking during this, like, oh my God, he had to let Danny go. The whole point of that story was like, do you remember when Nicholas was like, but can you really let Danny go? And he's like, yeah, I guess I'll have to. So Johnny realizes it's Danny and flashes back to telling Nicholas that he can't drown him. Meanwhile, Gyro recognizes that these are all definitely his steel balls on the floor, but he gets the feeling he shouldn't touch any of them except the 2 that he knows he just threw that were like on his person. So he starts to get attacked and trapped the same way that Hot Pants did in the plasticky crystallized thing. And Gyro's yelling to Johnny that like the user's nearby when they start to emerge and propose. The stand user emerges and proposes that they both divulge some weaknesses before fighting each other in the interest of fairness. So the stand divulges that their weakness is water. Which we know lines up with what Hot Pants was saying. So Gyro's yelling to Johnny. Oh, so Gyro tries to grab one of the steel balls, but it starts to merge with him. And he flashes back to a time when he was supposed to finish off like a prisoner that he was like executing and was being told to give like one more blow with the steel ball to like end his suffering. Like he's suffering, you gotta like end him. And he realizes that this specific ball was one that he was using when he messed up an execution. And he must have like thrown it away. So Johnny hears Gyro screaming and is trying to shoot at Danny that's running around, but he keeps missing him. So he gets him to run into a boot, gets the mouse to run into a boot, and he thinks he's trapped him. But then the boot sprouts holes and starts bleeding. And Nicholas's face emerges at the top of the boot, his brother who died, and starts telling Johnny that if he had just drowned Danny, this wouldn't have happened. And a horrifying zombie Nicholas starts attacking Johnny, and Johnny flashes back to his dad when he was trying to borrow Nicholas's boots, and also when he said the horrible line about God took the wrong son. And we realize that the boot that trapped Danny was one of Nicholas's boots that like he was fighting the dad over when we had that flashback. He wasn't supposed to take them, you remember. So Johnny starts to get trapped like Hot Pants did and Gyro just did, but he realizes that he's really close to the canteen and he tries to reach for it. So he sees Danny running around by the horse's legs and he's trying to shoot at him. Says he's definitely gonna kill the stand user, which is totally fair. They've already caused a lot of trouble. And he's firing at Danny. He keeps missing. And Danny starts to merge with the thing that's trapping Johnny. But that's when Johnny reveals that he wasn't aiming for the mouse. That's why I had to do the air quotes there with like he keeps missing. Did you notice that? He was aiming for the canteen. And water falls all over his head in the trap. And also on the knife. Danny's still running around, and Johnny says the canteen wasn't the only thing that he aimed for after all. He noticed there was a well, and he said it might be dried up, but there's probably still water running underground at least. And he says his nail bullets can reach pretty deep, and we know they can. We know the nail bullets are no joke. So, water starts to pop up from the holes that Johnny made in the ground, and Johnny says he's definitely gonna save Gyro and get these corpse parts. And Danny's head, like for a second, turns into the stand's head, like the Silver Chariot heating vent one, and starts talking and says that now the mouse says this, that they're certain that Johnny is the one who has both the corpse legs. Finn to chapter 57. This is a really good one. This is where we start recognizing, okay, what's going on. It's anything you threw away, anything you let go of, anything you left behind, anything you had to sacrifice, anything basically. It could be more metaphorical. It could be literal of like, you know, I threw this away in the trash. But yeah. So, So I think that's a really interesting concept for a stand, and it gets more interesting as we get to know, like, the stand user and everything more in the next chapters. But yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything specifically I want to talk about. We got Hot Pants backstory in this one, you guys. Oh my goodness. I guess I should just make peace with the fact at this point that every backstory in this is gonna be a tragic backstory. We're never just gonna have somebody like having a good life in their backstory, but like, man, that is messed up. So basically she got her brother killed so that she could get away, and then never forgave herself for it, and just so desperately wanted like the forgiveness of Jesus that she became a nun and set off onto this big journey mission to collect the corpse parts, hoping that she would find forgiveness that way. We also get to see, like, all of this has to do with like your past, you know, all the things that, like, mistakes you made, things that you let go. I mean, it's really playing very heavily on mistakes you made, and put a pin in that for later, because it is about more than just your past and things that you let go of. It is a little bit more specifically about the mistakes that you made, and we'll get more into that. But you know, we have Johnny having to confront his zombie brother Danny, like not Danny. Gyro flashing back to, like, you know what's really interesting to me about like these characters, and I think this is one thing that, like, I mean, it's not like we never get into this with shonen, because look at all these great series like My Hero Academia and everything, where like we can explore like more complex kind of themes and emotions and everything. But I think that switching to seinen for JoJo's in this case was such a good move, because you could tell Araki is really able to explore the fact that, like, good guys can have these like kind of really terrible backgrounds and like things that they've done. And like, when I look at Gyro, I'm just like, every time we flash back with him, it's like something he messed up, a mistake he made, somebody he couldn't save, you know, an execution he messed up, or like a girl that he slept with that ended up being married. And like, you know, yeah, here he is, and he's just like trying his best to do the right thing and save this boy. And same with Johnny, you know, like, we've seen him mess up a lot and have a lot of messed up stuff in his past. And it's like, if there's one thing I love about the way that the story is being told, it's that you can really see that, like, failures don't define your life, you know? Like, yes, they can be a big part of who you are, you know? Mistakes can be go a long way towards you deciding who you're going to be, but that doesn't have to be in a negative way. And I kind of see that for Hot Pants as well. While, like, that is a super dark backstory, like, you can see where she's like devoted her whole life to trying to make it right. So yeah, so we got a little bit more about the sand. We got a little bit more about just how it's working and how it's going to be playing on everyone. So definitely going to be, you know, we get like episodes and stories like this a lot, I feel like, in any kind of like modern drama where like somebody has to confront like a mistake they made, and like you have to like confront the dead person that you got killed or something, you know, like so we're doing that. But Johnny, of course, just firing on all cylinders, pun intended, I guess, by the clever stuff he did with the well and the canteen, and recognizing pretty quickly what's going on. So yeah. So again, we get so much more stuff later that I don't want to spend too much time on each chapter and be like really overanalyze, but I think I said pretty much everything that I want to say. If there's something that I think of, I can always go back to it. But yeah, so we get, you know, Hot Pants, of course, has a messed up past. We're getting messed up past stuff of other people as well, but stuff that we already kind of knew existed, like all the stuff with Johnny and his past. So yeah, guys, let's just go ahead and jump into chapter 58. This is where it starts to get real, okay? So Johnny's aiming to shoot at Danny, and who else shows up but Jesus? The big guy shows up behind Johnny and tells him, if your heart is wavering, don't shoot. And he says, if you don't, the door to a new path will be open to you. First thing I'm thinking is, oh my God, his stand is going to evolve. Oh my God, his stand is going to evolve. Jesus is literally here trying to help Johnny evolve his stand. And that's a sentence I really never pictured saying, but there it is. I mean, before Steel Ball Run anyway. So Johnny's like, what the fudge was that? And he's like, I know there was someone there, but like, what's happening? So his legs start twitching, but he says like they've never twitched like this before. Like they've never moved like this before. Like he's definitely got some energy going here. So he's still trying to hit the mouse, but this time with the water from his canteen. And we see the stand user who's now figured out that Johnny must have the legs. So we actually see them. Gyro's yelling to Johnny that the user's nearby, and Johnny's trying to find him. Johnny says he has to get rid of the user and the mouse, and that's when he notices a trophy in the trash on the floor. And he also sees like books and a 4-leaf clover, and it turns out they're all things he had thrown away as a kid. And the trophy was from when he got second place to Dio. I'm just like, oh, who knew like a trophy could hurt so much, you know? Like, and just like his ongoing thing with Dio, like, it's so sad because even though Diego really didn't do it intentionally, like compared to Jonathan and Dio and in the old universe, he really did, like, I feel like add a lot of, he at least highlighted a lot of bad things about Johnny's childhood, you know, even though like he literally like was really not trying to mess with him at all. He had his own thing going on. But anyway, so Johnny fires and finally hits the mouse. He thinks he's gotten it, but a hand reaches up from the ground and grabs his. And it's his dad. And his dad is spouting off about the God took the wrong son thing. He's blaming Johnny. He's going off. And Johnny's like, this cannot really be my father. Like, he's alive and well. He's in Kentucky. Like, this has got to be the stand. I've got to shoot it. So Jesus shows up again to tell him not to shoot if his heart is wavering. And I'm like, I think you should listen to Jesus. Like, he's shown up twice now, and this feels substantial. Like, I feel like he's trying to get. I think you should listen to Jesus. So Johnny puts it together that it's Jesus, and this is who the corpse belongs to. So, I mean, we've known that for like what, 30 chapters? I don't remember. Yeah, I think it was like in the teens or 20s we learned that. So I think Gyro kind of knew, and he didn't want to say anything. But yeah, so then Johnny's dad attacks, and Johnny shoots his dad and wrecks his ear. And Johnny kind of freaks out because like he's like, this really is just like my dad, like down to the way that he breathes, you know? And there's like that little moment for a second where you're like, oh my God, that couldn't really be his dad, right? Like, this isn't really happening. So meanwhile, Gyro figures out where the user is based on the sounds coming from Johnny's fight. Good stuff. Johnny fires and manages to get the sand user right in the neck. Excuse me. So the user is bleeding out and saying like, good job. This is just what I wanted. Everyone has to sacrifice something in order to move forward. And he's like, you sacrificed me. And now that you have, all of my sins are passed on to you to be your burden. So remember when I said that this was about even more than like things that you let go of in your past? It's about like your mistakes. It's about sins. It's about sins. So he says that his past is now purified and that his stand civil war is complete. So all these dead people start appearing, and he explains that they're all things that he sacrificed. So he says he's always wanted to purify himself in order to get the corpse, and now he's given all his sins to Johnny. And we flash back to his past, to 1863. Apparently he was in the war, and he started drinking really heavily. Like, they go through this, he wanted to be like a musician and everything, and he ended up in the war. And he starts drinking really heavily. So his job was to light a lantern if the enemy was approaching or attacking this town that he was guarding, to warn them. And he overslept because he drank too much, and he didn't do it. So the town was wrecked, the people were massacred, and that began a big losing streak for their side in the war. So I have zombies here. They look more like zombies to me, but I think they call them ghosts. So whichever one, ghosts, zombies, start trying to tear Johnny apart, and he's trying to figure out where to shoot. And finally, he decides that he should shoot himself. And I'm like, I really hope you know what you're doing here, Johnny. So the name of the user, by the way, is Axl Rowe, which I'm guessing is a reference to Axl Rose, the lead singer of Guns N' Roses. We get an explanation of the stand. It creates a dimension where the sins of the past are collected. To purify oneself, they have to make someone else bear their sins. Fin, to chapter 58. First thing I'll say is, like, okay, it's not lost on me that all this talk about, like, sacrifice and sins and, like, taking on the burden of sins and having Jesus actually show up, you know, there is, like, that very obvious, like, yes, Jesus died for our sins, and he was a sacrifice to bear our sins and everything so that we would no longer bear them. So I can't believe that wasn't done on purpose, you know, like story-wise. We have, speaking of Jesus, he shows up a lot in this one. I always get real excited when Jesus shows up. I don't know. I like it when he's around. I like it when he shows up. And you always know that stuff's getting real if Jesus shows up. Like, when he showed up, he was like, if your heart's wavering, don't shoot. I'm like, I think we should all stand at attention here and listen to what the big guy's got to say. I don't think we should mess around with the words of Jesus. So yeah, you know, kind of telling him, you know, you would think like Jesus would show up and kind of give him like a pep talk, but I think what he's trying to get at here is that, like, I mean, obviously if you're not sure, don't do it, but even more so than that, like, if your heart is not completely in the right place here, then maybe it's time for you to grow as a person. And again, I just took that so much as, like, his stand is going to evolve. Because his stand evolved, like, not that long ago. Like, we got Tusk is looking, like, a little bit more... Like, he started out like the little baby elephant thing, and he was so cute. And then he kind of, like, evolved, and he's looking a little bit more... That was one of the ones I noticed was looking more robotic as well. Like, he's starting to look a little bit more like, you know, like a little toy 70s robot. So I don't know if it was just... I don't know if there's a reason for that, for the style change in the stands. I don't know if Araki was just kind of like experimenting with different looking kinds of stands. Either way, it's all good because they all look great. But yeah, so, you know, now Johnny knows that it's Jesus. I think that Gyro had a feeling it was Jesus, but I'm sure we'll talk about it at some point and kind of get it out in the open. So yeah, again, just dealing with a lot of sins of the past and everything. This one is where it really becomes apparent that, like, the stand is not just dealing with things that you threw away or got rid of, but specifically mistakes that you made in your past, which, you know, quite often can go together. And that the point of the stand is to kind of like torment you with your own sins, but also, like, he can pass on his sins to another person to, like, release himself or, like, purify himself. So yeah, again, like, a lot of sad stuff in here, you know, like, we got Johnny looking through the trash and, like, finding things of his, and, like, again, I said the thing about Dio it's just kind of sad because, like, Dio wasn't even really trying to hurt him, but, like, he was so hurt by Dio still. Like, in every universe, apparently, Dio finds a way to hurt Jonathan or whoever is Jonathan in this universe, which is kind of too bad. Even though he wasn't even trying to. Again, just being hurt by the words of the dad, just, ugh. And, like, Nicholas, I can almost guarantee would not have felt that way. Like the dad, I think, yes, it was reflecting some of the dad's actual, like, you know, the blame that he put on Johnny and everything. Nicholas, I don't think would have blamed Johnny. Like, he was the one saying, like, why don't we like just kind of let Danny go and I'll get a mouse to replace Danny. Like, he loved Johnny, cared about Johnny. I don't think he would have blamed Johnny in a heartbeat. But, you know, again, this is one of those things where, you know, it's going to be about your guilt and your burden, you know what I mean? Even more so than the actual mistake or like what the other parties involved felt about it. We get a backstory for Axl Rowe, which, you know what's funny is I would swear that was a localized name if it wasn't for the fact that like this is being directly translated because it's a fan translation. So like it's definitely his name is Axl Rowe. Although if it was a localization, they would have had to localize it to something like, I mean, it wouldn't have even been Axl Rowe. It would have been like like Alex Poe or something. It would have been just something like, yeah. I mean, Zipper Man, you guys, really? Zipper Man was the best you could come up with. Anyway, speaking of other stands, it didn't even really occur to me till I started reading it here, but I can kind of see how the, I mean, the ghosts are clearly not actual ghosts. Like, they're not actually there. It's like a manifestation of your own guilt and your own sin and your past and everything. It's more or less working from memory, but I got flashbacks a little bit to a couple of different scenarios where we had, like, in part 6, we had Sports Max who could, like, use the ghosts and everything. And also to, oh my God, to, God, what was the name of the stand? I literally just saw a meme about this. The genie in part 3 who, like, comes to grant. That's gonna bother me. That's gonna bother me a lot. Hold up. Genie stand part. Oh, it comes right up. Apparently a lot of people have. Judgment. I wanted to say justice, and I'm like, I know it wasn't justice. Because that was Inyaba's, right? Let me see. Yeah, Anya or Anyaba. I still call her Anyaba, even though that's like the localization. It was actually Anya. So yeah, I knew it was a J, you guys. I was close. What was I saying? Yeah, so it reminded me of Judgment, where like it brought back the zombified version of Polar F's sister Sherry and everything, and it brought back like the zombie Abdul for a second until like actual, like, the way, oh my God, when actual Abdul showed up there, that's for another time. It's for another time because it's not what we're talking about. But you know, let's just say this is not the first time we have dealt with like a ghost or memory ghost stands. And I think this one is really clever though, that like it specifically has to do with like the mistakes of your past and like the sins that you bear. And again, just like it's not lost on me that we're talking about like bearing sins and the burden of sins and everything. And like, it's all about Jesus. So like clearly I think that's not a coincidence. But yeah, so this was a really good one. Again, we're just like, I think this fight is really clever. And this is another one where like we do get some really good action in it, but we get such a good blend of like action and story stuff, character stuff, specifically for Johnny. It's really good. It's really good. And you know what? I think it's just always a good day when we get to see Jesus. I don't know. I feel like it really stands out to me. You know what I mean? Like, Araki does a good job of, like, making it feel like, oh, dang. Like, this is serious. And was this the one where he's telling him? Yeah. This is the one where he's telling him, like, if your heart is wavering, don't shoot. And I already said this. I'll just reiterate. Like, this feels to me like we're gonna get a new stand evolution. So alright guys, that's pretty much all I got for chapter 58. Chapter 59. Yes, chapter 59. Next to last chapter, we're making our way today. Johnny's getting pulled apart by these ghosts. The corpse legs come out and Axel gets them. Axel notices the ghosts are scraping at Johnny's body, which just started like swirling and merging with the ground. And that's when a bigger version of Tusk emerges. The next act, perhaps, the next evolution of Tusk, which I literally just said, like, that's what I was thinking. So Johnny's body starts spinning up out of the ground and shoots Axel right in the face. Johnny and this new Tusk emerge. It's a glorious moment. It's a really good shot of it. Gyro comments that a few minutes ago Johnny shot himself. So like, what is happening? Like Gyro's still like not in it right now. He's just kind of like, he's only aware of certain things. But yeah. So basically, Johnny used, okay, so Gyro's gonna explain this whole thing, and the screenshot will be up because like he can explain it better than me. But basically, Johnny used the golden rotation when he shot himself, which means he was able to suck his own body into infinity. Because remember, like the whole point of the golden rotation is like that infinity, right? So he can move within that infinite space freely when using his stand now. And Gyro comments that even the Zeppeli family cannot do this. This is not something that they have mastered. So Axel sends the ghosts after Johnny, but one of them gets a hold of his arm and just gets shot in the face and his head blows off. So like Johnny's already just working on another level. So his hand is on the other side of the room. Like it's detached. It's almost kind of like, you know how like, I mean, there's been a couple scenes like this where you can like say, even Mountain Tim had like, he could send body parts, but it's like that. It's like his body part is separate from him and working independently of him. So his hand is on the other side of the room from him and he's just taking out the ghosts like left and right that are trying to tear him apart. Johnny then positions his finger, like separates that to aim at Axel and takes him out too. So Gyro comments that using the final point of infinity is something that Johnny can do now. Again, really, really cool. He's leveled up in a big way. That's when Jesus appears behind him again and says, if you're wavering, don't shoot. So I'm like, this is interesting, Jesus, because I feel like you were just trying to push him to the next level, but he's still here saying, like, you should be absolutely confident in what you are doing if you are going to do this. So Axel starts to recover from this shot, like direct hit that he just got from Johnny, what the heck. And he starts telling Johnny that this is pointless because the whole reason that Johnny's here in this situation is because of his sins. And he reminds him that all of his sins, Axel's, are now his to bear. And that Axel was revived because Johnny sacrificed him. So he says it's over. His ghosts already took part of the spine from Johnny. Like, remember that little nubbin that the Hot Pants left behind? And now all he needs is a skull. So Axel seemingly gets away with Johnny, by the way, like being really mad about this and like having like flames in his eyes. With almost a complete corpse, and it starts merging with him, with Axel. But once he's outside, he notices a spiral forming in the wall of the building. And Johnny reaches through the outside of the building and starts to pull at the corpse arm. And Axel's like, look, it's over. Like, even if you're trying to pull the arm, like, you're just gonna be torn apart by the ghosts. That's when Johnny starts snapping the arm. And Axel realizes he's breaking the corpse apart. And even Gyro's like, what are you doing? Axel realizes that even if Johnny tries to pull the corpse through that infinity hole that he just made, the corpse will be torn apart. So is he trying to destroy the corpse parts? If he can't be the one to have them, like he's just going to destroy them and he's not going to let anyone else get them? And Gyro's like, what are you doing? And Johnny's got flames in his eyes and he just starts snap, crackling, popping these corpse parts. I mean, he's on another level right now. And Gyro mentions that his eyes have that dark intention that Ringo had mentioned way back when, and he's got the eyes of a killer right now. So Gyro's begging him to stop. He's like, look, I'm sure the Pope is looking for that corpse too. Like, we just don't want to break it. You know what I mean? Like, and Johnny says his heart is not wavering anymore. So to answer the question that, or the comment that Jesus has been making, his heart is not wavering. He's ready to shoot. Axel is freaking out, saying, how dare you? I'll show you, all this stuff. Axel sticks his knife through the opening and gets Johnny right in the throat. And he starts celebrating. He's like, yeah, I did it. My knife reached through the hole. Ha, 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 ha. And that's when Johnny's like, actually, I just won. He pulls the knife out of his throat and he's fine. And so I think you can see where this is going. He says, killing me is a sin. And since you sacrificed me, all your sins went right back to you. And all the ghosts went back for him too. And they're just crawling towards him in the creepiest way possible. Johnny tells him to leave the corpse parts or else. Johnny looks at him with that stone cold killer face and just tells him victory is ours. And Axel's like freaking out. He's like, I'll kill you, you trash, blah, blah, blah. But then he gets shot in the neck. And we pan out and it wasn't Johnny that shot him. The person who shot him is in the shadows. And Axel sees him and starts freaking out like, why would you? Why would you do that? And it's Valentine. He's the one who shot him, and he's like, all right, good job. I missed your vitals, so you're not gonna die right away. But like, he starts taking the corpse. And Johnny's like, what are you doing here? Like, can't believe this is happening. And Valentine says since he saved Johnny from Axel, he circumvented the whole sacrifice and sin thing. Which I gotta say is smart. It's very smart. Valentine says this was all so that he could get the corpse parts all at once, and he's telling Johnny it's the whole reason he had the race, which we already kind of knew. Johnny's freaking out and starts firing, but Valentine is gone. He's out of there. So during this time, by the way, Hot Pants wakes up. We see her in like one of the panels. Valentine is monologuing now that he has all the corpse parts. You know, he knows Dio's got the left eye, and someone else still has the right eye, the traitor. But now they're 145 kilometers from Philadelphia, and the estimated duration of the rest of the race is only 5 days. And that's what kind of blew my mind. That's what I was saying back at the beginning of this reaction, because I'm like, I can't believe that, like, that's all we have left, you know, over like 35 chapters. So Finn. Guys, this was a rough one. This was like everything that we had last time with these triumphant moments of like, we just, you know what, guys? It's ebb and flow. It's give and take. It's like, we're gonna go through good times, we're gonna go through bad times. But man, thinking that we went through this just for Valentine to come in and get basically almost the entire body. I mean, it is true, he doesn't have the eyes, he doesn't have the head. And I think Johnny has something, because Johnny still has a stance. I don't know if he got like the little nubbin of the spine back when he was pulling things through the hole or what, but like he's got something because he's still got a stand. Unless the stand is just independent of the corpse parts now, but I don't think it is. Maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe that whole confrontation with Jesus was like him being like, it's time for you to get your stand. I don't think so. I think he just still had, I'm trying to think of the part, because he had the legs, and we know that the legs are now part of the whole corpse. Hot Pants doesn't have anything. Hot Pants all got taken away when she got attacked. Lucy's got the right eye. Dio's got the left eye at this point. So yeah, I think Johnny just must still have like the nub of the spine, because I know like Axel said he took the nub of the spine from him, but then like he's still got a stand. So like, I don't know, someone can clarify that for me. Am I missing a body part that like I forgot that Johnny had? Or are they trying to say that like this is when Johnny really got a stand? Like, because other stand users are not really using the corpse parts to do it necessarily. That's how it happened with Johnny, but like other people are just like getting stands from other means, or they had stands or whatever. So yeah, so I think I said Finn already to chapter 59. Valentine getting the whole corpse is so disappointing, but here's the thing, like we've come a really long way. Jesus clearly is invested in our case here. Like, I feel like we're gonna be all right. We're gonna be okay. Like, this was a battle. This was not the war, you know, which is a little punny considering we're dealing with the guy from the Civil War and everything. But yeah, I love the way that Johnny won this, by the way. I love the way that Johnny was just like, because that's so smart. He's like, guess what? If you kill me, I'm now your sacrifice, and you now bear all the sins. That was so smart. Like, Johnny's just like, of course he is. He's a Joestar. Like, it's in their blood. So yeah, also we got the new Tusk. So what is this? If the little baby elephant was Act 1, and the one that we had that was like a little bit bigger version was Act 2, this is Act 3? Is this Act 3? Because Echoes only went up to Act 3. But I don't know. Like, we're dealing with a whole new universe, whole new set of rules, whole new everything. So I don't know if, like, is that it? Is this our final? I gotta think, with 35 chapters left, it might be I mean, he can do an awful lot with this now. He can, like, separate. So just to clarify, so he's, like, now fully using that concept of, like, infinity that the golden rotation is based upon. So he can now, like, hide in infinity. He can't really send things through infinity because he couldn't send the corpse through, but he himself can, like, move, like, he can, like, move his body to, like, separate, almost kind of like a Mount Tim or Sticky Fingers, but on a whole different level of just, like, he can now separate his body to be, like, I could put my arm over there, make it shoot you. I don't know what the range on that is. We're not really, I gotta say, we have not had, like, a stats thing. We have not had a stat. I don't know if maybe Araki just decided to stop doing this. Like, I don't know if the stats were, like, because I know people send me the stats, so I'm guessing the stats were a thing in the previous manga, but maybe not. Because it doesn't feel like we're doing, like, we used to focus on that a lot. Like, the range of this one is so many kilometers and blah, blah, blah. It doesn't really feel like we're doing that a whole lot. Like, even, like, stats aside, like, they used to mention it, like, you know, Echoes is a good example. We know, like, Echoes, and I think Hierophant Green were some of them that had really big ranges and everything. And some of them didn't, you know, they just had, like, medium ranges, and, like, you know, particularly the ones where, like Star Platinum, if he's got to get up in there and, like, punch you in the face, you know, he's gonna have to be somewhat close range, as we saw with the Kira fight and everything. Anyway, what was I saying? I'm, like, digressing to a lot of other parts today. But yeah, so Johnny got an upgrade. He can use infinity fully now. He can move his body around, which is so stinking cool. He's got a new form for Tusk. Tusk is, like, big now. Tusk is, like, a big guy. The way that he won was really cool. Let's talk about the fire in his eyes, okay? Because, like, that's really saying something, you know? It's not like this is a foreign concept, this idea that, like, the JoJos have this, like, fiery determination. But this is kind of the first time I've felt that it was described this way, where, like, he just has, like, the eyes of a killer, you know? I mean, certainly we've seen, like, Giorno, like, he definitely went into kill mode at times, you know? But, you know, I think this is one of the first time, like, usually when we're talking about, like, the Joestars, like, I remember how Koichi, I'm mentioning Koichi a lot in this one, I don't know why, but, like, the way that he talked about the Joestars in part 5, where he was like, they all have this, like, you know, there's this light about them, and there's this, you know, and, like, with Johnny would get, like, he's a stone cold killer. There is a light in him too. I mean, obviously but, you know, again, kind of coming back to the idea that, like, he's not someone who's without a lot of mistakes and sins in his past and everything. And he's here trying to do what he thinks is right based on all of that. So there is kind of, like, this idea of, like, there's, like, a natural good, I feel like, about him, but we're also exploring a lot more of, like, you know, this is about people who have done some stuff and seen some stuff, and what they're making of it now in their lives, and who they're deciding who they're going to be and everything. So, do we still have one more chapter? We still have one more chapter after this. Okay, so I'll try not to get too, you know, long-winded here. But yeah, I just love this. I love the way that, I love the flames. I love the idea that, like, and again, it all comes down to, like, how you use it, but, like, dang, he really went into kill mode. Like, he was like, if I can't have this corpse, no one can. But I guess you could also say he was trying to get Axel to attack him. He was taking the risk that, like, if he started breaking the parts and everything, that Axel would attack him, and that would, like, purify him and set him free from the effects of the stand. I guess we'll never really know what the true intention was, but I honestly, based on like the look in his eyes and everything, I kind of wouldn't be surprised if, yeah, the actual reason was just like, this is too important for anyone else to get their hands on. And especially now that he's seen Jesus and everything, like he probably understands the weight of this situation, that like, I think like it would almost be better if I just got rid of this corpse as opposed to anyone else getting it. Not so much like a selfish thing, like if I can't have it, nobody can, but like this is too dangerous to just let off into the wild. So yeah. Axel got what was coming to him. He got all his ghosts back. Oh, Valentine just showing up and just getting home. I gotta tell ya, that's a real kick in the gut. It really is. It's a real kick in the gut. But this ain't over till it's over, you know? I mean, like, we still got 35 chapters, and if there's one thing we learned from Sugar Mountain, it's that, like, you can literally lose everything and still gain everything. So, lesson learned there. So we gotta keep that hope going, but guys, just get ready, because like I think it's gonna get worse before it gets better. And that leads me into chapter 60, where we definitely get some not as happy stuff. So all right, we open on chapter 60. Johnny and Gyro make it to the next goal in 6th and 7th place. They are totally worn out and downtrodden. Like, even the announcer saying like Gyro's looking down at the ground. It's so sad. It's so sad to see. And they even mention that, like, the narrator, announcer, whatever, mentions, like, what a big fall they took from, like, you know, 1st and 2nd spot last time. It's so sad to see after we had that big victory that they just got knocked down so hard. But that doesn't mean they can't get back up. So they're talking about how they're never going to find the head now. Like, they needed the other parts to find the head. What are they going to do? And that's when someone in the crowd pulls out a gun and aims for them. And Johnny just wrecks this person. He attacks with his relocated, rotated arm bullet things that he's got now. Gyro throws a ball at the guy and turns the gun just like right into the guy's mouth. And they just like walk away like nothing ever. Like, it's crazy to think of how far they've come, particularly Johnny, but also Gyro, because even though, like, yeah, he hasn't, like, had big stand-up grades or anything, like, he's grown a lot as a person as well, but, like, this person they've been fighting sand users. They don't care about a guy and a crowd, you know what I mean? Like, come on now. So Gyro says, if we even finish the race at this point in one piece, I'll consider it a win. Valentine didn't kill us back there, and I think that's a sign that, like, we've got, like, a second chance, you know? And I'm like, it's really sad to hear Gyro, who was so, like, there is no other choice but then to get first place in this race. Like, I've got to win. I got to win for Marco. And, like, I'm glad he's keeping the hope alive somewhat, but it's just, like, it's really sad to see them in this spot because, like, man, to hear him say, like, if we even just finish the race alive, then I guess it's a win, you know? It's like, oh, my boys, my poor boys. So, surprise, surprise, Dio's in first place now. Now, they did say a couple chapters back that this was a good spot for people to make comebacks. However, I think we know that Dio's only in first place because he's got an arrangement with Valentine. So, Gyro says, look, Dio still got the left eye, so let's go take it from him. And I'm like, good. You know what? At least that gives us something to kind of work towards. Because right now, you can tell they're just, like, broken down, beaten down. So meanwhile, we cut to Steven Steele in a carriage. He's crying over Lucy. He reveals that he does know about stands, which I don't think they had said before that he specifically knew about stands. Maybe they did, I don't know. And he wonders if there was one that, like, could take somebody's face and appearance, which I'm like, bro, you just figured it out. Like, good job. That's when he remembers that the last person to see Lucy in Chicago was Scarlett, and he starts comparing these two photos of them, and he starts to put it together. Like, just the way that, like, she's standing in the photo, her way her arms place, all this different stuff. He's starting to put it together, like, what's going on. So that's when Magenta Magenta climbs up into the carriage. It's been a hot minute since we've seen him, and boy, did I just not need this right now. But he climbs up into the carriage. He's leaking all kinds of nasty fluids. His face is like sewn up. I guess he managed to patch himself up, but he's not doing okay. And he's going on about how this would have never happened if they had just had airplanes. And I'm like, bro, relax with the airplanes. Like, but he says now he gets headaches and he drips and drools and all this stuff all the time. I'm like, oh man, just almost kind of sounds like you would have been better off dead, which is where you should be. But anyway, so he says to Stephen Steele that they don't need him anymore, and he aims his gun at him, and we see the gunshot somewhat, but then it like cuts away. Like we don't actually see him, like what happens to him. We cut away to Wekapipo, who's watching the carriage, and I'm like, oh, thank God you're here, Wekapipo. We could really use a win right now. So we have a flashback to a conversation that Wekapipo had with Johnny and Gyro, where he tells them that Lucy's dead. Like, look, I saw her body. And they're like, no, that was just hot pants. Don't worry about it. Like, the real Lucy is probably close to the president. So he agrees to keep looking out, looking and like protect her if he can find her and everything. But he says he won't do anything to like make a move against this country. And Gyro's like, you're an odd one with your standards and everything, but okay. Somebody's probably starting to figure things out about Lucy, maybe Stephen Steele. So just look for someone who's disguised, possibly who's close to the president. So Wekapipo looks inside the carriage and he sees Stephen Steele shot and bleeding. And I gotta say, I was really sad when I saw this. I'm not gonna say that like I have this big personal attachment to Stephen Steele, but I mostly was so upset seeing this because the first thing I thought of was Lucy and how she's doing all of this to protect her husband and kind of protect their future together and everything. And if she knew that her husband had just been taken out, oh, I think it would kill her. And I was so upset when I saw that. So meanwhile, Magenta Magenta is on top of the carriage while Wekapipo's looking in. But Wekapipo manages to see Magenta Magenta's shadow cast off the top at the last second. And he throws a ball just in time, just as Magenta Magenta starts to shoot. Can we call Magenta Magenta like M squared or something? Because it's a mouthful. So Magenta Magenta says he's gonna get revenge on him. They start fighting. A 20th century boy comes out, the armor, Magenta Magenta stands. Wekapipo figures out that Magenta Magenta must have heard them talking, which is exactly what happened about Lucy back at when they had the fight. Wekapipo sees the photos. He figures it out about Lucy and Scarlet, and he figures out that Magenta Magenta must have figured it out. So Wekapipo shouts to Stephen Steele, like, hang on, your wounds aren't fatal. And I'm like, oh, thank God. So there's a chance, I'm like, please, like, we need a win. We need a win right now. And I really don't want that for Lucy, for her to, like, lose her husband this way when she's working so hard, literally, like, we'll get to that. So, some guards start closing in on the carriage, and they target Wekapipo, telling him to stand down, which I'm like, great, now they probably think that he did all of this, like, he's gonna have to take the blame for it. Awesome. So, Wekapipo's thinking, like, he's gotta take out Magenta Magenta now that he knows about Lucy, like, we can't let him live. So, he gives the guards the left side ataxia, which is nice to see that used in, like, our favor for once, and he takes off. So, we cut to Lucy, or Scarlet, and Valentine. She's listening to him play the violin, and he finishes his piece and he tries to embrace her, and he says there's something different about her. So he's telling her how nice her page flipping was set to his music, and I'm like, I guess that's a thing. Like, she was flipping the pages of because she was flipping the pages of the sheet music to, like, at a good pace for what he was reading of them. I don't know. I don't read sheet music, so I don't know. But he's like, I really like the way you're flipping those pages and everything. And he's like, yeah, he's laying it on thick here. And she's thinking to herself, because he's like got his hand on her, she's like, if his hand wanders anymore and he tries to kiss me, I'm gonna bite off my own tongue and die. And you know what? If he finds me out, I'm gonna do the same thing. And I'm like, girl, I gotta tell you, in your situation, I don't blame you a bit for being like, I don't blame you a bit. I hope it doesn't come to that. But so she tells him like, oh no, it's just been a while since you've seen me. And he's like, oh, you're being so cute and the way you're moving is so nice. And he pulls her onto his lap. And this is when I'm like, oh my God, her teeth are positioning over her tongue right now. I can just feel it. That's when she sees the right eye go bouncing out of her pocket and bounding towards the door. And she takes his face in her hands to try and like distract him so he won't look at the fact that the eye is really red. That's when she figures out that it must be moving towards the other corpse parts because we know they're attracted to each other. And that must mean that he's finally got the other parts. Finn to chapter 60. Guys, the whole Lucy story just, it's gonna give me an ulcer. It really is. It's like, it's got me so messed up. So now she's having to pretend to be Scarlet. And I think you guys remember me saying last time, like, okay, at the very least, like, it doesn't seem like they're so super close. Like, it doesn't look like they sleep in the same bed or anything. Like, maybe we'll be okay. Of course he decides to get frisky. Of course he does. Of course he does. At least it wasn't anything too bad this time, but like, God only knows. Like, no, I gotta say, like, knowing the way this is written and everything, God only knows the kind of situation she's gonna be placed in. But I'm just glad that Wekapipo he figured it out. He's got to take out Magenta Magenta. I hope he does it quick. He's gonna get to her. He's gonna protect her. At least she'll have a friend in this world when that happens. And so help me God, Wekapipo, you better see it through. Like, you better. Like, please. So Magenta Magenta, we resurfaced and we got to see him again. Of course, we know it would have been like, it had been a bit since we saw him. I think the last batch, right? Ended with him. Yeah, last batch ended with him. We knew he actually lived. And so the end of this batch, we finally address the fact that he's out there. Oh, poor Steven Steele. I really hope he's going to be all right. Like I said, if for nothing else than just Lucy's sake, I think it's just absolutely horrible to think that, like, I mean, I was saying this last time that, like, I would be really sad if Lucy didn't make it because she's been through so much and she's come so far. But, like, if she made it, but, like, Steven Steele didn't, and it would all be for nothing, you know? I mean, but it wouldn't, because you're still, like, whatever's gonna happen when we, like, Voltron the parts of this corpse is gonna be so bad that, like, I think it's gonna be one of those things, like, where for the sake of the world, we need to stop Valentine, you know? Like, I don't know I just know that it's gonna be bad. So, it wouldn't be for nothing to stop him from getting the corpse put together, using whatever power comes off of that. Even if Steven Steele got killed, but it would really suck for her. It would really suck for her. She really does care about him, and she's doing this all for him. So I hope he's gonna be okay. Wekapipo to the rescue, hopefully. He's on his way. He's on his way, honey. Just hang on. He's on his way. So now so let me ask you this. They all think, Valentine and all them think that Hot Pants had the right eye. What's going to happen when the right eye gets to the corpse, pops itself inside the corpse, and Valentine notices, like, the right eye is here. Because he even said, like, the traitor has the right eye. So they think the Hot Pants got away with it. Because that's a story that was told, you know? So, like, is that not going to be a huge giveaway that, like, the traitor is still there in their presence? And, like, the whole point of, like, throwing all the suspicion onto Hot Pants and, like, Lucy taking the form of Scarlet and everything would all be, like, crud now? Like, what's... Also, like, if Hot Pants had actually died in that fight, like, if they hadn't saved Hot Pants, would the stand have stopped working? The one that's, like, making her look like Scarlet? Because that's a really scary thought, to think that, like, we literally have to keep Hot Pants alive, or else, like, I don't know if it works that way, though. I don't know if the flesh foam is, like, I don't know. Because, I mean, think about it. Like, we know that a stand kind of like stops taking effect if we kill the user, but there are exceptions to that, because like Josuke has fixed people with Crazy Diamond so many times, and like once that's done, it's done. Like if he's unconscious or something, like doesn't stop, you know what I mean? Like I can't even think about what would happen if Josuke got killed, because I would also die myself if that happened. But like, I'm sure those people wouldn't like unfix, you know what I mean? So like, I don't know if maybe like the Flash Foam, the cream starter is the same way, but like we won't have to worry about it now. But it is a scary thought to think that like if Hot Pants had died there is a possibility that her stand would have stopped working and Lucy would have been like exposed. And she might be exposed anyway, because now the eye is like trying to get to the rest of the body, and it's like they find out that somebody, like the eye just magically happened, you know what I mean? Like that's gonna be bad news. So this was an amazing batch, you guys. I loved it. We had Jesus show up. We got an evolution of Tusk. We got some really good character stuff for Johnny here. Him just like really showing this fierce determination. I think that's putting it mildly, fierce determination. Honestly, it's like even more than that. It's just like, he's honing in on his mission, and nothing's gonna stand in his way. Nothing, no one. And I'm just like, it's so sad to see them so broken in this last chapter, where like they come in, they fell so many places in the race. You know, I'm guessing because they said a lot of people had bet on them, and that they were like the fan favorites for like first and second place too. So I wonder if like maybe the person with the gun was like a disgruntled person who had a bet on them. I don't know. They never really said. They just, I don't know. Maybe it's just a big public event and attracts a lot of, you know, it's possible. So, but yeah, so it's just so crazy to think that like they're like, and we're finally at the point where like, I mean, and it's so like horrible to think that Johnny was shot. But now we're at the point that like he's so powered up that like a person with a gun can't do anything to him. You know what I mean? Like we're at that level where like we got to this point, like somewhere around part 4, I feel like we were finally starting to acknowledge that like we're not like other people. We don't kind of meddle in like regular person problems unless it has to do with the stands. We don't mess around with that. Like we don't F with that, because quite honestly, like we're just so far above, like, I mean, not in like a conceited way, but like they're just on another level in terms of power, you know, like they don't, it's got to be stand versus stand, because like stand versus regular person will be like so anyway, what else in this way? Yeah, I thought Civil War was a really cool stand. Like I said, we've had like kind of zombie or guilt memory stand things before, but just the way that this one worked was really cool. Steven, I hope he's gonna be okay. Lucy, of course, is in some horrible mess again, trying to, I just pray is just that Valentine is just not in the mood at all. Like, for however long this takes. Like, can we just, like, douse this man's interest in any of that, please? Like, I feel like we really don't need to worry about that on top of everything else. And I know that if it came down to, like, saving her husband, I know she would probably go pretty, no, I coughed that one up like a hairball. No, thank you. So, what else? What else do we have? Hot Pants' backstory was so sad. I mean, it wasn't super detailed, but it was tragic enough to be like, oh my God. And that the point of like the whole story was about like sins and sins being forgiven and everything, and like she wants her sins forgiven, and who bears the burden of your sins and everything. I think it's a really interesting, I don't know, I think you could probably go way deep into it regarding like everyone's past and how they're dealing with it, and having your sins forgiven and forgiving yourself, and like what you did, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot there. There's a lot there. I'm gonna ponder it. I'll ponder it on some bike rides, and I'm sure maybe I'll come back to you with maybe some more insights, maybe some more biblical insights. I don't know. I'm not promising anything, but just, you know, I just think this is like the meat of it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we have amazing stands, we have cool twists, we have great designs, we have beautiful art, we have all that. But at the end of the day, we have a very intellectual, philosophical story about people. You know what I mean? Like, I respect that. I respect the heck out of that. I'm losing my voice. I need my, hang on. It's been a while since you guys saw the Jojo cup. I think maybe since I first got it. I need to wet my whistle over here. I'm dying. I mean, we got to see Danny again, kind of. Not really, no. Like, how many times has he had, like, a vision of Danny at this point? Can you imagine if, like, Danny the dog had shown up that much? I mean, we did get a mention of Danny in that really pivotal moment when we were fighting, which one was it? Yeah, it was Bruford, right? Bruford? Where he was, like, had to think back to, like, when his dad told him, when you're tugging with Danny, like, pulling away doesn't do anything. He had to look for the air pocket and the... Yeah, I just rewatched Phantom Blood not that long ago. It gets better every time I watch it, honestly. I mean, it's so totally different from this, you know? Like, what we're seeing Araki in the late 80s versus Araki in, like, the 2000s. And man, did he level up. But they're still both amazing, you know what I mean? Like, it's apples and oranges. It's all good. I think that's pretty, I think I said pretty much everything I wanted to say. Valentine having all the power right now is just so annoying. But it's like I said, you know what? If there's one thing we've learned, it's that, like, progress in this, and really in life in general and in this story, it's not a perfect straight ahead. You know what I mean? There's gonna be some curves. There's gonna be some bumps. But they're still in this. They're still in this. They are still in this. So I'm just gonna keep my fingers crossed for everyone right now. Johnny and Gyro, keep that hope alive. Keep that motivation up. Wekapipo, get to that gosh darn girl. Right now, get Magenta out of the way. Throw him to the wolves, quite literally, because I think that would be ironic if he just got eaten by wolves. I don't know. He shot a wolf, he gets eaten by a wolf. Little quid pro quo. I don't know. All right, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up. What a great batch. We now have 35 chapters left. The corpse is almost fully assembled. Jesus has revealed himself to Johnny. Johnny has leveled up his stand. He can now use Infinity. We have a lot going on. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed listening, watching, reading, discussing along with me. I don't know if there's really I don't know if I ever really decided on a good word for what it is that we're doing here besides just having fun. Please, I've not started reading the next few chapters yet, but I can already tell, like, things are gonna get bad before they get better. So please help me. Please be sure to join me next time, and we will watch it together. Bye for now, guys.